Hello and welcome to another episode of Tubarks Tales, My Adventures in Learning. I'm your learning guide, Stan Scrabbit. In this episode of Tubarks Tales, I'm going to show you the process that I use for getting my day started. When I get into the office, one of the first things that I do is I pull out a blank emergent task planner. This task planner I picked up from David Shea, who has a number of productivity tools. But what this does is it allows me to list the major tasks that I'm going to be working on during the day and kind of figure out how long it's taking to finish those particular tasks. As you can see from this example, the quiz kiosk, for example, it took me an hour and a half of that day that I was working on. Wrote a blog that took about an hour. Another blog that took about an hour and a half that particular day, and some of the tasks that I happen to be working on. And so this just kind of keeps a running list, and every day I go back and I either add or subtract to the list, but it keeps me focused on what I'm doing, and this is how I generally start my day. As I mentioned, David Shea, he's got a number of wonderful resource tools, and I've used quite a number of them over time, and I've pretty much settled in on the Emergent Task Planner for me. But he also has, for example, these task sheets that allow you to track various tasks as they're coming in. He has various planners if you want to know how long a task takes to complete. You can fill out one of these time trackers, and just a great set of tools to kind of keep you on track. And it certainly has helped me keep on track. Along with that is I also use another tool called Pomodoro. And what this is based on the Pomodoro technique for keeping track of tasks, or keeping on time with tasks. It's a 25-minute timer, and you can identify which tasks you want to work on. So for example, working on an article or a blog post, I can select those, and it will just kind of keep a track how many times I've run this timer on this task. As I start the timer, it'll run down to 25 minutes, and at the end of 25 minutes, it'll give me a 5-minute break, where it's recommended that I get up and go do something entirely different. The nice thing is it kind of keeps track of how many times that you've gone through this particular timer on those tasks, and kind of gives you an idea of where you're spending your time in your day. But really, the idea of this method is that's the only task that you should be working on, is the task that you have assigned to you. And so for example, email, I may bring up a task specifically for email, and I'll start my timer, and it may take me once or two times to go through this particular timer, but that's what I'm doing. I'm focusing just on email and nothing else. Or if I'm working on a blog, I turn my email off, I turn all the distractions off, and that's what I'm working on, and I just focus on that. So it's a nice tool to kind of keep you on task and reminds you to turn off all those other distractions. Evernote is also one of those tools that I use regularly to kind of keep an eye on what tasks that I need to work on. So for example, I have a search that I've set up for blogs, and it lets me know different blogging ideas that I want to write about, and I keep that in there, or podcast ideas that I want to write about. In this case, I've already finished this one, so let me just go ahead and indicate it's done, and that will it should indicate that it's not there, so I have to go check on that. But there it's gone, so made the update. I can also look at tasks and review items that it came in, my weekly review, and determine how I want to categorize these particular tasks. and make sure that they're all categorized properly as I'm going through them, and I can do a monthly review. And I try to work with the getting things done strategy. I'm not as dedicated as I should be, but that's all weaved into what I have to do. Once I get done, basically looking, getting my task planner sorted out, the next thing I do when I get in is go through my email, and I review all the new documents that are coming in, and if as I get done reviewing them, and I'll go ahead and basically delete them once I'm done with those. Some of them are taking me, for example, ATD links that may introduce me to some new resources, so I kind of briefly go through there. I may read one or two articles, and I may end up saving those articles. And so I go through that, answering questions. I go through that mode first, and I go through that with all the different email accounts that I have, and make sure that I'm taking care of business in all those different email accounts. Then my email is basically done, and I turn that off, and I don't look at it until typically after lunch, and then one more time before dinner. So only about 3 times a day do I go through my email and deal with questions and issues. Once I get done with my email, part of my original emails, I have these paper.lis. And paper.lis are, I've set up these special newsletters that pull together information, usually from Twitter and Google Plus and blogs that are of interest to me on those particular topics. So I have a number of those newsletters that come in. There's around 12 of them that come in that I read through. And so I set aside time each day to go through those. And one of those newsletters, once I open it up and bring it up into a web browser, basically looks like this. This is the ALC Times from Angie Spann. High speed, she does cool stuff. And this is her collection that she's put together, and I subscribe to it. So I will go through and look for various articles. And if I find something that just kind of resonates with me, why girls are getting better grades, or I don't know if there's anything that I'll do it. But say I'm interested in that article. It's an Atlantic article. I'll go ahead and pull that up, and I will read through the article. And if it's something that resonates with me, one of the things that I do is I squirrel that away using my Diigo account. And so I will click on the Diigo account and save that, and then I'll typically share it. I'll categorize it. I may share it with other people, or it may make either the Geeks and Speaks or my articles in review, one of those blog posts, and I tend to try to share those things back out. The last section I go through pretty religiously is Google Plus. And so Google Plus, I'll pull up Google Plus, and I'll go through articles. If I like the article, I hit +1. There may be articles that I want to save, so I may end up opening up a particular article. And once again, if I like it, I'll save it to Diigo or share it with someone else. And so I go through, basically all the articles that I have time for. And I usually don't spend more than 25 minutes on that particular task. And once again, I use this Pomodoro to keep track of all those things. So that's pretty much my day, how I kind of work through it. Just to kind of get started. And usually I'm good to go, probably by 9 o'clock I'm ready, to start knocking out some major tasks of my day. Once I've kind of sifted what's going on in the world and what's new. And that's what keeps me going. That's how, I keep moving along on this learning adventure. So thanks for once again watching Tubarks Tales.